You can see that
Do
he's
you want
not
to tell
fit
you
and
my
not ready to
opinion
start
why
the
he
game.
plays three in the back? Do you want to tell you my opinion why he plays three in the back?
Go ahead,
As
Mo.
I said many times, Thiago Silva is not good at four in the back. Thiago Silva's age, at 39 years old, cannot play with someone like Chilwell who flies up front. Malo
So don't
Gusto is
start him
still
then.
unexperienced. I said that, Don, and I said, no, you don't know. 39 years old. Imagine Thiago Silva with no two center backs around him, with Antonio Bowen running at him. That's why he goes to three in the back, because Thiago Silva is very good, as Thomas Tuchel proved it. We play Thiago Silva and three in the back. He looks amazing because he reads the game. Well, when you play in this day and age with four in the back, two defenders, many times you'll be faced with one-on-ones. Many times. And
Mo,
Thiago
the
Silva,
thing
we
is,
saw
Mo,
what Antonio did to him.
I agree with you, Mo. I do agree with you. I prefer Silva in the back three, but Silva played in the back four, like I said, all throughout preseason, bro. He played in the back four and he looked perfectly fine. Like I said, I've seen Silva play in the back four under Tuchel. I've seen him play in the back four under Frank Lampard.
But he can't do it no more, bro.
Yeah, but hold on, bro. The reason why we didn't lose that game isn't because Silva was playing that game. It's got nothing to do with that. Silva needed a bit of protection. Silva needs a bit of protection. I get that point. But what I'm saying is West Ham are not in a position to be worrying about when it comes to playing three at the back, bro. You need to play four at the back and play attacking players rather than playing an extra defender, is the point that I'm making. I wasn't happy with the lineup Poch put out, and the shape wasn't right. He should not have gone to a back three. Next game against Luton on Friday, I expect him to go back to playing the formation that we played throughout preseason. I did really well in. I'm not feeling this back three stuff. I thought we're done with that, and it's taking me back to Tuchel days and that.
yeah, but I saw also Malo Gusto. You guys gave me all this talk. I haven't watched the guy before. You guys gave me all this talk about a brilliant player, a great player, and that's what we talk about. He's 20 years old. He looks good defensively, but does not contribute offensively. And as a fullback in a back five, you need to do what Chilwell does and Reece James do. That's what I'm talking about. You cannot turn to 20 years old and ask him to play in the Premier League and get you top 4, top 5. It needs a lot of work. Malo Gusto, brilliant, looks brilliant on the eyes, but still unexperienced to start for Chelsea week in, week out now. That's what we thought. It's going to happen to Lavia, Jackson, Mudryk. There is no experience. Even Colwell, 2 games now. He looks like it's not the same as Brighton, or there's too much pressure here. There's more pressure playing for Chelsea Football Club than playing for Brighton, even with more experience. Remember, Colwell was playing between Chilwell and Thiago Silva. How more experience do you need? And he still looked a little bit shaky, a little bit not up to the pace. This is what we said about experience.
Very nonchalant.
It's only 2 games, but that's what I can judge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I think you're being a little bit too harsh on Gusto, in all honesty. I think he had a really good game. If I had to pick out a few players that had a good game, he was one of them. I get what you're saying in terms of if you're playing a back three and he's basically like our winger, pretty much, you expect him to be whipping in those balls. But one thing I said, if you remember on Never a Foul, if you were listening yesterday, Mo, I said Gusto, in terms of creating chances and whipping them in, I'm not too sure. I haven't seen much of that at Chelsea. But again, that goes back to Poch. You don't play a back three then, because clearly Gusto can't do that job. Gusto should have someone in front of him, like a right winger, doing that job, or making those overlap runs in behind the winger and whipping it in from there. He can't do it by himself, in all honesty.
Sterling was doing it. Sterling was doing it.
Sterling was doing it, yeah, but I'm looking more at the shape.
I get there's going to be criticism, but I think this goes back to what Patty said. It's going to take the manager time. Watching players in training is not the same as watching them in reality. And for someone who comes from a fighting background, there'd be guys in my gym who used to beat up the guys that were world champions, but they'd get on the mats in a real competition and freeze. They didn't have something about doing it in public when the pressure was on. It would be different. He has to try a little bit of trial and error in terms of that. And the one thing for Chelsea fans is you've got to stay patient, because you're going to have results like last night. You're gonna have a number of them. But as already mentioned, Caicedo had one of the worst debuts you can have as a football player. He gave the ball away loads, conceding that penalty as well, and everything else. Northside, from your point of view, a lot of people are saying that maybe he's going to have a Basuma style first season at Chelsea, but with that £115 million pressure, do you feel like the whole world is going to be watching every time he touches a blade of grass?
Just give him time. He needs a bit of time. At the end of the day, it's not like he's coming into a stable club in terms of everyone knows their job role, everyone's playing well. And ultimately, not everything falls down to him. When you look at defensively, you've got Thiago Silva. Where's the partnership? We've seen Ferdinand, Vidic, we've seen Terry, Carvalho, we've seen all these partnerships. You know, defending is a team game. And when you're looking at it, Colwill, Diassi, they let Thiago Silva down. You know what I mean? And obviously, he's also part of that defensive unit. But when it's all falling apart, one man can't just defend by himself. It's a team game. And Chelsea need to work on a lot of the basics. I think they need to give him time. It's the same thing with Arsenal with Declan Rice. You need to give them time, a little bit of time. You know, a lot of times we bring in new players, regardless of the price tag. They don't dictate their price tag. We give them at least a year, you know, to be writing him off. I know his price tag is going to be used against him, but Chelsea fans just need to persist with him. He's come into a Chelsea team, got new management now. You got Poch there. Everyone's trying to play his style of play. Yes, he had a howler, but at the end of the day, you know, if he gives you another howler, cool, put him in the bench. Maybe take him out the firing line. He doesn't need to be kept being pointed out if things aren't going right at Chelsea. But it's too overreactionary, in my opinion. I think Chelsea fans need to look more towards their defense and the fact that whether you're playing a back three or a back four, where's the partnership? Where's the defensive cohesion? You know, because it weren't looking good enough. Like Gusto as well, not looking good enough defensively. And I hear what Mo's saying about fullbacks these days need to go forward, but I have the same problem with Zinchenko. It's all good being great going forward in certain aspects in these fullbacks, but ultimately you are a defender. You know, you have to be good enough defensively. And I think that Gusto, for me, I wasn't, you know, he's still a young player. I'm not going to completely write him off, but ultimately for me, you have to do well your job title. And if your job title is a defender, whether you're fullback, centre back, whatever, your main job is to defend. Everything else is secondary.
Maybe I missed that. Maybe I missed that with Gusto yesterday. Yeah, but can you think of an example where he was done up, bro? Like, because I'm struggling to think of when defensively he was looking a bit shaky. Because I think he had a good game, to be honest. And I'm not just saying that because in his debut against Liverpool, I said he didn't look that good. In all honesty, he looked a bit shaky. He had a better preseason than Reece James. In all honesty, but yesterday I actually thought he was one of the better defenders. Can you think of an example of when he was looking a bit shaky or did something a bit mad?
I think Thiago Silva was your best defender. I actually thought he performed the best out of your defensive players. I didn't think Gusto played as bad as Diassi. Diassi was a complete calamity. But there was times where positionally I felt like he was a little bit, you know what I mean, a little bit rocky. I'm not saying he was the worst. I think Diassi was the worst. I think Kogo was even worse than him. But he was part of the problem.
Yeah, I had the guy was saying Desai yesterday. You're saying Diassi is Desasi.
I don't know him, bro.
Axel Desasi.
He's my cousin. I don't know him like that. I don't know. You know what I mean?
No, I hear you.
I when he called him Desai made me die because like
he got cutie.
Yeah, he just started off and he realized he didn't know how to say his name and he just went Desai.
It's Axel Desasi.
Yeah, but to be honest, Chelsea, you look good. Footprint is right there. The style of play is there. The problem with me is that he still plays 5 in the back. And we know that Pochettino is not going to play 5 in the back. But I see that Chelsea, at least you look like a team that knows what you want to do. Still don't have all the elements, all the tools to be used. But if I'm a Chelsea fan, I'll be looking forward to the future. I'll be looking forward with like a lot of a hope that this can be right. This can be done right. This is the reality then. 2 games, you look dominant. You look like you know what you want to do. You look like you have a plan. And just for Chelsea fans, the problem is with money comes pressure. And money comes pressure of the delivery has to be now. It cannot be within the next 3 years.
If you tell Arsenal fans that, with money spent comes pressure. Expectations.
Yeah, listen.
But I want to say something about a point that Northside said about he does not dictate his price tag, and I'm not going to judge his price tag. The problem with price tags that much is that, and I think Terry yesterday alluded to something like this. When you spend that much money on a player, you need the product to be now, because you spend 115, you could have gone another player and waited a year or 2 or some games for 50 million and spend the extra 65 million on a striker, for example. But they chose to spend 115 million on Caicedo, assuming that it's going to be now. So there's no wait, there's no patience, because that compensates for another player that could have been there if you don't spend 115.
And the world's changed. And listen, I've been in this social media game now for a long time. And this was the first year where I saw some players written off and heavily criticized for 20-minute appearances in pre-seasons. Never seen it. I saw rival fans stay up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not talking rivals like Staffy who live in America, so it was daytime. I'm talking people that live in England. In fact, some people that live 2 or 3 hours even further behind the time, getting up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to watch a rival play football, subscribing to rivals' channels, as in like Arsenal's official TV program, Chelsea's official TV program, just to watch. And how I know this is because when they screenshot it, you could tell by the watermarks. So people are actively giving rival clubs money just to make compilations to banter people with. The problem Caicedo's got, and it doesn't matter what Chelsea fans say or do, rival fans are on him from the first second he kicks a ball, and the media has changed in the last 2 years. The media is the same as fan media now, but they have multiple £1 million budgets. The agendas people come with, they're all changed. No one got judged for whatever money you spent at 18, 19, 20, 21 years of age. Nobody was judged overly harshly straight away, ever in football. And it didn't matter. When we signed Wayne Rooney for 27 million, no one expected a hat-trick in his first game. No one expected him. The first few years, it was he's still learning and still developing. No one expected it. Now, if you're 18, you're sold for £50 million, you've got to be prime R9 or rivals are going to cook you. And then the mainstream media go, right, well, the narrative is this. And Caicedo's under pressure now after that first game. It's just the way it is. Yeah. If Jackson, I know he was cheap. If he doesn't score soon, the pressure is going to start to build up. There'll be compilations with clown music next to his name. You've got Arsenal tonight. If Havertz goes out there and doesn't deliver, rivals will be on him. Look what's happening to Mason Mount, who's been rubbish, by the way. It's the way football is now. You can't get away from it, whether it's right or wrong. The targets on him and Enzo. Him and Enzo collectively is that's £220 million for two midfielders. Right. There's no rival in the world. That's why yesterday for our match reaction to Chelsea, it was the biggest live audience we've ever had for a match reaction in the history of the football terrace. Yes, the result helped, but everybody came to cook Caicedo. It was a Caicedo.
and just to add to Mo's point as well, I couldn't agree anymore about the money. The money, with money comes pressure. And yesterday, I don't care, if we've brought all these new players, I don't care about any of that. We've got the manager now. We've got the players that have the quality. We should have beaten West Ham United. There's no excuses. Do you get it? What we've got to do now is bounce back and show that the other day was a blip. Yesterday was a blip. We've got Luton at home. Perfect game to get a few goals now because we're creating chances. And like Mo said, we're dominating games and we're looking like the future's looking bright. But now it's time for the players to actually have their shooting boots on because we can't be spending this much money and still be talking about the same problems we had last year. These lot need to step up now and actually start finishing chances.
Especially 9 points in the coming 3 games. You play Luton. You play Forest. I think Bournemouth after.
Bournemouth,
3 games, 9 points, nothing less. If you want to compete for top 5, because that's 5 games now. It's going to be 5 games. That's the percentage of the season. You need to have 9 points.
They need to pick up points now because I looked at their fixtures in October. It's not looking nice. They have a bunch of the
October, November.
Yeah.
Yep, we've got Tottenham.
I think October into November, something like that.
That's
when
we've
they play
got Tottenham,
all the big boys. Yeah.
Tottenham, Brighton. We have Man City. We've got Newcastle.
It's going to be interesting. I've got some super chats to do here. This first one is to.